there's a lot of stupid people with PhDs. Let's say that. There's a lot of stupid people with PhDs. A lot of them. And I don't know what's going on with my segments right now as far as my actual stream deck. Something's going on. I guess they're off. Nonetheless, I don't know what the hell's going on with PhD candidates and PhDs being so stupid. I have an example of this, and I want to show you guys this. I have to actually log into my backwards account, the band's account, because this man blocked me. Man, that goes to show kind of the, I guess maybe even the narrative of the PhDs. Like, does that really encourage you so much to become a specialist in one particular field that you're completely like outside of the realm of reality, and you actually become dumb in other aspects? So we got this guy here, David Gorski, and this is what he says here. Then this is a surgeon and scientist promoting science and blah, 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 just generic. He says that's because libertarianism by and large supports privilege and white supremacy. Well, of course, this is a white guy, by the way. It's always about my freedoms, which lockdowns impact, but police violence does not. Okay. Let's finish on before oh man, this is an idiot. Scratch a libertarian and all too often you find a fascist underneath the veneer. So this is what happens, right? If you speak something, right, you could think that, I guess, your credentials maybe can allow you to talk something into existence. You speak it into existence, right? It's wrong, it's incorrect, but who cares, right? It's one of those things where, and maybe that's even indicative of this block that the guy gave me after just a brief exchange back and forth, right? And after that brief exchange, and he said, I can't remember what he responded to me. I said, you don't know what libertarian, not only do you not know what libertarianism is, you don't know what fascism is. Which you can see the tweet here. And then he said, actually, he does. And I said, okay, basically, you should understand that libertarianism and fascism are antithetical to one another. And then that's when he blocked me. Like, that's what happened. So let's touch on what he is trying to speak into existence. And that is this idea that libertarians, of course, are, as they should be, very, very vocal against the lockdowns. I don't think they've been vocal enough, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I've been ahead of this, but I don't think they've been vocal enough. But they've been very vocal about the lockdowns, and he's trying to conjure up this nonsense as if police violence doesn't impact freedom. Not even being able to connect the dots that the lockdowns in itself encourage police violence. Right? You're creating conflicts out of thin air, turning people into criminals overnight in the event that they operate in any capacity that they were before. So you increase, if anything, and ensure police violence in the event that some person sees this lockdown and they decide that they obviously do not, which is admirable as far as I'm concerned, choose not to follow the orders. There's the teeth of the state, that wing, in which they will come and they will send their goons to arrest you, and if you resist, you may get shot and killed. It's just how it works. But so that's number one, right? So the statement in itself is stupid in that regards. But this idea that libertarians, right, of all people, don't talk about or don't believe that police violence or violence by way of the police doesn't impact freedom is hogwash. And I don't even understand what libertarian this person could be even following to put him under that assumption. But that's because these guys don't talk to libertarians. they don't engage with libertarians. Again, this guy blocked me immediately, right? So here it is. So you get to tell people that libertarianism is about white supremacy and basically thinking that lockdowns does not, police violence doesn't impact freedom. And then you have this black libertarian, obviously he's not a white supremacist, and then you block him, right? So that's how, and it's not just with PhDs. I mean, I don't think that's anything necessarily specifically unique to them. It may be a thing that a lot of them do, but I don't think it's anything that's specifically unique to them. I think this conversation in general has kind of been derailed in this upcoming generation, or this generation that we're in. And a lot of folks just feel as if, okay, if they don't see it, then it doesn't exist. It's more or less what it is. It's like, and to be honest, what they do is try to go out of their way to ensure that they don't see it, so it doesn't exist. Because anybody that's not an idiot would understand, or as anybody has ever engaged with libertarians, and with a lot of libertarians, not all, but the whole aspect of police is like on the top of their list of things to be griping about. Right? It's on like the top of the list. So for someone to be like, yeah, white supremacy, libertarians think lockdowns impact freedom, but police violence doesn't impact freedom. You have to be so stuck in a bubble that, again, you do not ever engage with libertarians. And this is why you've probably seen me go back and forth with some of these blue check marks. And I'm like, what libertarians do you follow? Because usually I click on these guys' page, we have no mutual followings, and I obviously being very involved in the, or just being involved in libertarianism in general, you think we have some sort of crossover for someone to be getting this information. And there ain't no information. We don't share followers or anything like that, not ones that are libertarian at the minimum. So where do they get this information? Well, this is how they operate. And especially academics, experts, that's what they do. It's like, well, we say something and we come from this position of authority, and therefore it has to be true. And it had the last bit obviously was probably the most stupid idea when you consider that fascism is antithetical to libertarianism, right? When you're talking about merging of and basically a state in all things. Actual fascism, not fascism by way of what they say. You know, these guys call anybody to the right of Bernie Sanders a fascist, but actual fascism, Mussolini's, Giovanni Gentile fascism, right? Like that in itself is antithetical to, libertarianism. And for you to say that, I guess you scratch a libertarian and underneath you see a fascist, then you would have to assume that fascism is somehow to be associated with markets that are wide open, absent of the state. See, those are antithetical. They operate opposite one another. So for someone to come to that conclusion, they have to be stupid. You have to be a literal idiot. You have to be stupid, and you make things up. And this is often what happens. In on this note, I've talked about how when it comes to definitely leftist forums, I did an entire video talking about this and those round table discussions. Doesn't matter if it's about social issues or social political issues or just strictly political issues. And you have the typical MSNBCs of the world. And folks have said, I would love to hear you talk about, your views and opposite of these guys, right? And having that cordial dialogue. And I have to be clear, and as I was in that video, I don't not show up to those particular mediums or their podcasts or anything because I wouldn't or I don't want to. Now, obviously, it needs to be within reason because I'm not going to go just to be set up. But if someone wants to have an honest, cordial conversation, my direct messaging on pretty much all major digital platforms except Twitter is open. Email more specifically if they want to contact. I've always said that you never see me on those meetings not because I won't do it, because they never invite me. I've never been invited. You see these round table discussions, they talk about politics, they talk about all these sort of different things. You've never seen me be there, not because I wouldn't necessarily do it. I don't get invites. I'd love to appear on Rachel Maddow's show or Chris Hayes' show or whatever to discuss these sort of ideas in depth. Love to do it. I've been invited. So yeah, I can go to, I turn down enough. A lot of people on the other side would reach out to me. Hey, let's talk about this, and that. And really all you do is see me do the Blaze there. I've already done it. I've done Fox News. I've done all of those but before. And I don't do them really now because I would love to engage with who people would deem on the other side. I just don't get invites. That's why. But there's a reason for that. And it's not just with me. It's other specifically black libertarians. I think black libertarians in general are shatter these particular narratives that they try to conjure. So what better way to speak this into existence by either completely ignoring the ones that in their own existence negate everything it is that you say, like some of this crackhead is saying with this white supremacy thing. If you can just block it out, pretend it doesn't exist, and then in your world or your reality, it's not even a thing. So you could say stupid stuff like this is white supremacy or fascism or something of that nature, and then block black libertarians who obviously prove your ideas to the contrary. But there's a lot of stupid people with PhDs, and the more I interact with people on Twitter, the more that seems to be the case as people who put their credentials in their posts. I think people need to understand, even in their own field, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the smartest people, but certainly in other fields, that doesn't speak to anything, right? So you can be a PhD, you can go spend all this money, pile up all of this debt, learning one specific thing. And it doesn't mean that you have any sort of common sense. It doesn't mean that you're honest. It doesn't mean you certainly are knowledgeable in another field. And in some cases, if not many cases, if not most, it's actually to the contrary. And these guys are idiots when they speak outside of their field, which is why this medical doctor or whatever, David, whatever guy, talks about science-based medicine, has absolutely no idea what he's talking about as it pertains to libertarianism and fascism.